Every year when I start making these videos, I always say that this year was filled with even more amazing games than the last one. And I'm doing it again. What an incredible year for games both big and small, and somewhere in between. We've explored dreamlike fantasy worlds, bopped to the rhythm, and wrapped our heads around some devious puzzles. Oh, we've been spoiled for choice, let me tell you. We have been spoiled. No matter which types of games you're into, there is bound to be something in here that you'll want to add to your wishlist. As always, this video will be focused on my personal favourite games I played this year, including older releases, but it will focus primarily on games that released in 2025. The games are also in no particular order, with the exception of the final 5, which all must have released this year. This one was certainly the most difficult year, by far, to decide which games would take the top 5. Kicking the list off with an explosion of colour, upbeat music, and beautiful hand-drawn animation is Bits and Bops, the wonderful rhythm game that's very heavily inspired by Nintendo's Rhythm Heaven games. However, whilst it plays very similarly to its inspirations, it adds buckets of charm and personality that make it stand on its own, and it's a true joy to play. The presentation is superb, and if you enjoy rhythm games in the slightest, this one will put a smile on your face the entire time you're bopping to the beat. Now, 1000 Times Resist released last year, and if it was a 2025 game, it would have made my top 5 for sure. I couldn't put it down, and I could not stop thinking about it long after playing. It's a visual novel of sorts, but with some exploration sections where you can run around the environments and soak up the atmosphere. The storytelling was incredibly unique and poignant, and the kind of story that can only really be told in video game form. It's poetic and highly distressing, yet simultaneously heartfelt, and despite being sci-fi, manages to mirror our own world and human interaction with disturbing accuracy. An emotionally resonant journey that explores the human condition with care, rage, and nuance. It's a masterpiece. Another game that released last year that would have made my top 5 had it came out in 2025 is Sorry We're Closed. This survival horror game, inspired by classic Silent Hill, complete with fixed camera angles, creates something truly unique that I've never experienced before in the genre. It blends classic survival horror with quirky visuals, poetic symbolism, queer characters, and excellent writing. The combat is also super fun. When shooting, you go into first person and you need to get right up close to the enemies to reveal their weak point, introducing a lovely risk-reward mechanic. It's a must-play for both survival horror fans and newcomers alike. It feels a bit strange to move on to Pokémon Legends Z-A after talking about 2 of the best games I've ever played, but this list was randomised, so here we are. Regardless, Pokémon Legends Z-A was a ton of fun, and despite the lack of variety in the city environments, I had a blast roaming around the city, exploring the rooftops and wild areas, and playing a Pokémon game with real-time combat. Spilled is a short little game about slowly exploring these small patches of ocean, cleaning up oil spills and upgrading your boat as you go. You rescue cute animals as you progress, and the pixel art is really lovely. If you have an hour or 2 to spare and fancy a nice relaxing break, Spilled comes highly recommended by me. Ender Lilies is a Metroidvania through and through, but instead of fighting enemies and gradually making your character stronger, instead you fight enemies by making new allies and getting them to fight for you. For example, you can get a big guy with a hammer that attacks slowly but squashes everything in your path, or you can get a knight with a fast sword attack. The musics and visuals are superb, with a wonderful gothic art direction that never fails to make me smile. I'm not usually into city builders, but Dawnfolk managed to change my mind this year. It has some nice pixel art, and everything just feels manageable without getting too overwhelming. The mechanics are introduced gradually, and the roguelike nature prevents things from getting too crazy, with too much to keep track of. Definitely give it a go, even if you don't usually like games of this nature. Wilmot Works It Out was truly amazing. Another 2024 game that probably would have made my top 5 if it came out this year. You play as a little square called Wilmot, and you have to push square jigsaw pieces around your house, lots of little pictures to hang on your wall. You get regular deliveries of jigsaw pieces in the post to keep things fresh, and it's just an absolute delight to play from start to finish. Monster Hunter Wilds had me hooked for a good while earlier in the year. The classic Monster Hunter gameplay loop is all there, where you hunt monsters, make new weapons and armour, and then do it all over again. It wasn't optimised very well, unfortunately, but the game was really fun, and some of the monster fights were truly epic. Dead Letter Department kind of blew me away. It's a weird psychological horror game where you work at a data entry job typing up lost letters. It doesn't sound very fun, but the dread and suspense is beautifully unsettling. I won't say much more than this, as it's the kind of game that benefits from going in with as little information as possible, but if it looks like your thing, play it. Rift of the NecroDancer was such a fun rhythm game. The original music is brilliant, and the gameplay is super unique. Instead of hitting buttons that are scrolling down, you instead have to hit monsters that have their own attack patterns and can even swap lanes. It's excellent, and you need to check it out if you enjoy the genre. I love simple little logic puzzle games, and Is This Seat Taken was a great one. You need to work out where to place each little shape based on their preferences. One shape might not want to sit next to anyone at all, and another shape might hate loud noises. I can relate to both of those shapes for sure. Star of Providence is a roguelike dungeon crawler with top-down twin-stick shmup gameplay. It's immensely satisfying to play, and feels exhilarating when you manage to dodge enemy bullets and find yourself quickly getting better. Good stuff. Blueprints hooked me with its carefully curated mystery, slowly revealing itself as you progress through the mansion day after day. It's another roguelike, but most of the progression comes from learning new things rather than getting more powerful. You'll choose which rooms to place in each part of the mansion, and you'll gradually discover which rooms to place where and how they interact with each other. I was hoping the puzzles and mystery would be a bit like Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, my favourite game of last year, but in my opinion it came nowhere close to the levels of greatness of Lorelei. Regardless though, Blueprints is an excellent puzzle game that deserves your time and attention. Just make sure to bring a notepad and pen. Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, is a huge mashup of so many different ideas in other games, especially Nintendo games. It takes aspects of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Animal Crossing, and adds an RPG-style job system that tasks you with leveling up each of the jobs as you go along, such as woodcutter, miner, or magician. You can explore a big open world, build your own little village, and venture into dungeons. There is so much to do, and all of the gameplay mechanics blend together so seamlessly. If, like me, you've ever played Super Mario Odyssey and wished that the bird with the pokey beak that you can play as in that one world could be a whole game, Pecker has you covered. It's a 3D platformer where you can peck things and fling yourself around by doing so. It's great stuff. I love fast-paced shooters, and as a big fan of both Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, I was super excited for Doom the Dark Ages this year. It plays quite differently from both of those other games, where you're a lot more grounded rather than jumping around all over the place, but I had a brilliant time with it. The combat is super fun, and the level design is excellent, with secrets scattered around each area. And you can ride a dragon that fights demons. I'd love dragons. Drop Duchy is a weird hybrid of Tetris, strategy, and roguelike deck builder. In each level, you'll place your blocks like Tetris, but you won't be trying to complete lines, you'll be thinking about how your blocks can interact with one another to win the strategic battle afterwards. It's such a strange combo, but it works so well, and you should definitely give it a look if it looks interesting to you. Super Mario Odyssey is one of my favourite games of the past decade, so my anticipation for Donkey Kong Bananza was very high, as it was developed by the same team. In my opinion, it was nowhere near as fun as Odyssey, but it's still a fantastic game in its own right. It plays very differently to Mario, and whilst they're both 3D platformers, Donkey Kong has much more emphasis on tackling the level in any way you want, by literally breaking it apart. It's a lot of fun, and although I enjoy the created level design and whimsicality of 3D Mario much more, I still had a blast playing through Bananza to the end. It's also deceptively long. Tiny Bookshop kind of exploded in the cozy gaming community this year, and for good reason. It's a relaxing little game where you manage your own moving bookshop and sell books in various locations around the town. You'll select which genres of books to stock, and it even has an element of strategy where your decorations provide various bonuses to the book selling. It's super engaging and such a lovely time. Okay, we're about halfway through the list now, so if you want to have a quick break and grab a nice warm drink or a snack, now would be a great time and I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Or if you'd rather continue listening to me right now, that's cool too. Wizordum is basically classic Quake or Doom, but with magic spells and goblins instead of guns and demons. It's colourful, but still violent, and fully deserves your time if you enjoy old school shooting games of this nature. Mario Kart World released alongside the Nintendo Switch 2 this year, and I had such a blast playing it with my partner. The character roster is crazy, and the new courses are wonderfully realised. Knockout Tour, a mode where instead of racing around a track, you'll race around the world where people gradually get knocked out of the race, is a real standout. It's nothing revolutionary, but it's a ton of fun, and I'll be regularly coming back to this one in the years to come for sure. I play quite a lot of PvP multiplayer games, but I don't usually include them in these lists or even talk about them on this channel at all. Mainly because they came out years ago, but Wildgate released this year and I had so much fun with it. It's an extraction shooter in space, where teams of up to 4 players have their own spaceship and go around looking for loot and trying to extract the artifact out of the Wildgate. It's super polished, and whilst it's not really the kind of game I see myself playing forever, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. It reminds me of the old days where a multiplayer game didn't need to live indefinitely and have millions of players to be a success. It could just be a bit of fun with other players, and I love that. Kabuto Park is an extremely cute bug catching game. It's super simple, but the gameplay loop is really satisfying. You catch bugs in various areas and then battle them against other bug trainers in card-based sumo battles. The music is also brilliant. It's highly recommended if you're feeling like a short little dose of cuteness. I've played the original Crash Bandicoot before. It was one of the first games I ever played, in fact, but I discovered retro achievements this year and played it again to get all of the achievements here. I think the original, especially the first game, plays better than the remake, as the levels are designed around the original movement mechanics. I love this game, and getting all of the gems by beating each level without dying and breaking all of the crates can be brutally difficult, but I had such a great time. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is just a lot of fun. It's a big budget thrill ride with so many set pieces and crazy moments, but plenty of puzzles to solve too. The acting is wonderful, and if you're looking for a grand adventure to get lost in, you can't go wrong with this. I got really into Picross this year, and Squeakross was the one I put the most time into. You solve nonogram puzzles, but each puzzle unlocks an item you can decorate your little rat's home with. There's also loads of quality of life features and optional helpers, which make the puzzles more approachable than ever for those that have never played nonogram puzzles before. I've not played a huge amount of Peak, but what I have played has been really memorable. It's such a great game to play with your friends and requires collaboration and teamwork, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming. You've probably already heard of this one, but if not, definitely give it a go if you have a few friends to play with. Metroid Prime 4 seems to be quite divisive. I played it largely in my own little world, and I had a great time with it. The first half of the game was incredible, but the second half of the game wasn't so good. It's less of a Metroidvania and more of a 3D adventure game though. It certainly felt like the best parts of the game were front-loaded, but I had such a fantastic time with the majority of it that it's hard not to recommend if you enjoy adventure games. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo very nearly made my top 5 this year. It's such an excellent top-down Zelda-style game with so much personality. It plays similarly to 2D Zelda games, but injects the experience with its own ideas and gameplay mechanics, which mostly involve flinging a yo-yo around. It's just pure fun, with clever secrets and puzzles scattered throughout. I don't think you need me to tell you that Dark Souls 1 is incredible. I've been going for all of the achievements this year, and I'm really close to getting them all, but the core game design of Dark Souls 1 is unmatched. There's a good reason it's one of the most influential games of all time. I also think it's not as difficult as its reputation. There are many ways to make the game easier if you need to. I didn't play a Souls game for a long time as I didn't think I enjoyed challenging games very much, but I was so wrong. I'm now obsessed. If you've never played a Souls game, I still think Elden Ring is the best introduction, but Dark Souls 1 is so well crafted and infinitely replayable. I can't believe it's taken me this long to play Dragon Quest XI. I heard about how long this game was, and it is such a massive game. I had a couple of weeks off work earlier in the year and decided that it was time to finally play it, and I'm so glad I did. It's a traditional JRPG, but it looks like a modern game, with brilliant voice acting and a likeable cast of characters. There are so many cutscenes which I loved watching with my partner, and I just couldn't stop playing it until I reached the end. A truly outstanding RPG. Before we get to the top 5, I want to take a minute to shout out a few of the games that I've been thoroughly enjoying but I haven't really played enough of yet to make the list. Firstly, Everdeep Aurora is a cozy Metroidvania of sorts where you explore by digging and uncovering secrets, but with no combat. WEBFISHING is a chill little hangout spot where you can catch some fish with friends or other players. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a really fun 2D side-scroller with super satisfying combat. I'm looking forward to playing more of that one. Ball Pit is a roguelike with Arkanoid-style gameplay and lots of upgrades and bullets flying everywhere. Demonschool is a superb RPG that feels a little bit like Persona, but with grid-based strategy and a much brisker pace, and I'm really loving it so far. Okay, now we're on to the final 5. These all released in 2025 and are in order from 5th to 1st, with my favourite game of the year at the end. Luto was utterly terrifying. By far the scariest horror game I played this year. It's basically a walking sim with some puzzle solving, but it's so much more than it sounds. You play as someone trapped in their home, unable to escape, and as you venture deeper into the house, it gets increasingly weirder and more intense. It has a Stanley Parable style narrator, which feels weird, but it goes to some super unexpected places. It's about 5 hours long, but the way it relentlessly builds tension this time with the constant sense of dread and the superb sound design and directional audio is incredible. It consistently tricks you into a false sense of relief, using jump scares very sparingly, but to great effect. It manages to explore heavy topics such as grief, depression, and death, but also encourages seeing the light in seemingly hopeless situations. You need to play this if you enjoy horror games, but do look up trigger warnings beforehand if you need to. Logic Bombs is pure logic puzzle brilliance. It's essentially an entirely new and unique logic puzzle with enough depth to stand alongside behemoths like Sudoku and nonogram puzzles. It has a simple rule set that slowly introduces new rules as you progress through each level, and some of these puzzles are very devious. It's the kind of puzzle game where you'll stare at the same screen for 20 minutes thinking, what on earth do I do here? Until finally figuring out one little detail, which then cascades into more little details until you're stumped again. I know that's not for everyone, but it's definitely for me. I adored everything about Logic Bombs, from the minimalist pixel art to the ways each puzzle demands such out-of-the-box thinking. Every single puzzle requires no trial and error whatsoever. Even though it might seem initially impossible, there is always a logical solution without having to resort to trying stuff for the sake of it. It's also super cheap, and even has a Game Boy version that works on an original Game Boy too. If you enjoy logic puzzles, you need to play Logic Bombs. Ooh is a puzzle platformer with no text, where you play as a caterpillar made of bombs and you discover creative ways to use those bombs to progress through the world. It's quite short, but the fun that I had in the couple of hours it took me to complete was more than enough to earn it a place amongst my favourite games to release this year. It makes you feel like a genius for figuring out how to progress through each area, without being too difficult at all. Even if you don't usually enjoy puzzle games, I still think there's a fantastic game here. And if you do enjoy puzzles, it's an essential experience. Other than gaining an extra bomb, the puzzles can all be completed from the start, but you'll only figure out how to complete the puzzles by progressing and learning new ways to use your bombs. All reminds me of why I love video games so much. It's truly amazing, and I think everyone should play it no matter what kind of games you usually play. You've most likely already heard of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It won Game of the Year at the Game Awards this year, and deserves every single bit of praise it's been getting. It's a JRPG with real-time dodging and parrying, and there's nothing else quite like it. It's a love letter to classic JRPGs, but also manages to push the genre forward with immensely satisfying combat, and often makes you feel like you're breaking the game with the amount of damage you can do by combining skills and damage modifiers. The story, characters, and voice acting are excellent, with a melancholic, almost depressing tone that permeates the whole experience, but with plenty of heartwarming and uplifting moments to cut through the unrelenting melancholy. The dreamlike fantasy setting and varied environments are stunning too. It's an outstanding game that's well worth playing, whether you're into turn-based games or not. Hollow Knight Silksong is my favourite game that released this year. Those that have watched my content before know that I like to highlight lesser known titles whenever I can, but I just couldn't put anything else at the top spot. Hollow Knight Silksong is a masterpiece through and through. Team Cherry took the blueprint of the original game and made something evolutionary that doesn't reinvent the genre like the original did, but polishes it into something truly spectacular. It's faster, more fluid, and bigger than before, and like the previous game, it has a beautiful soundtrack. There are so many secrets hidden around every corner, and the game doesn't stop opening up. It just keeps expanding and introducing new areas, with challenging, well-designed boss fights that were a joy to perfect. It can be very challenging, but it's not quite as punishing as the original game. I couldn't stop playing it until I'd explored every inch of the world and got to 100%. It lived up to my immense expectations, and I loved every second. Whoa, I think that was the longest end of the year video I've done yet. As always, I can't play everything, so these are just my personal favourites out of the games I did actually play, so your favourites will of course differ. please let me know your favourite games of the year in the comments. I'd love to hear about them too. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you watching until the end. If you did enjoy this, please do give it a like and consider subscribing. I don't have a whole lot of time outside of my day job and writing about games to make videos here, but I do love to talk about the games I've been playing when I get a chance. And I hope this video helped you to find an interesting new game you didn't know about yet. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon.